Yes or no? Because vapor pressure of each liquid is fixed. Once it reaches the equilibrium, it will exert a certain pressure, that is called vapor pressure, and that is completely fixed. So let us say at room temperature, at 25 degrees Celsius, the vapor pressure of H2O will be equal to 23.8 torr. You can remind it, you can remember it, or else whenever the question will be asked, it will be given. But it is better if you remember it, because these are the basic data, and the JEE Mains, NEET or JEE Advanced, they will hide this data. They can hide. Many times they have hidden it. So 23.8, it is nearly equal to 23.8 torr, the vapor pressure of the water. Now, we know very well that boiling is an endothermic reaction, isn't it? So if we boil the water, what do we need? We need to give the heat. That means delta H, enthalpy, is positive, isn't it? What we are doing, we are raising the temperature. So if we raise the temperature, and we know very well that equilibrium constant depends only on temperature. So if we raise the temperature, the equilibrium constant will also increase. So, and now according to this reaction, if the equilibrium constant increases, it means more of the water will convert into the vapors. So reaction will goes the forward direction, that is more evaporation, isn't it? If the equilibrium constant is increasing in the forward direction, the reaction will be favored in forward direction, which means obviously evaporation. If the equilibrium constant decreases in forward direction, it means less of the product will form. Le Chatelier principle we know very well, isn't it? But here the equilibrium constant increases in forward direction, that means reaction will move forward and more evaporation will happen. So obviously, now according to the chemical equilibrium, again we are taking, because there is a lot of application of chemical equilibrium in this chapter. Let us say physical equilibrium. You know very well physical and chemical equilibrium. If you don't know, you can have a look of physical and chemical equilibrium definition. Very easy process, isn't it? Here it is physical equilibrium. There are no chemical spaces. This is only the physical equilibrium. If a pressure increases, the reaction. Now we are talking the Le Chatelier principle in the physical equilibrium. If we are increasing the pressure, the reaction goes to that side where volume decreases. Now we are revising it here, so you must not forget, we are revising the concept of class 11. So study it again. If pressure increases, the reaction will go to that side where volume decreases. Why? For example, you have a closed container with a piston fixed. Let us say this is a container and here is the piston, movable piston. So if you increase the pressure, you have to push the piston down. So obviously the volume will decrease. So volume will decrease means lesser number of evaporated moles or gaseous moles. So what we can say, the reaction will have to move in that direction which favors lesser number of gaseous moles. Lesser number of gaseous moles means volume decreases, isn't it? So what we will say, if we increase the pressure, the reaction will go to that side where the volume decreases, means the reaction will go backward. If you pressurize a container having water vapor, they will become liquid, yes or no? Everybody understands? And if you decrease the pressure, the reaction will go to forward direction. Very easy process, isn't it? If you increase the pressure, condensation will start, isn't it? So means you are decreasing the volume, isn't it? So for a pure liquid, now we are taking, now from the water we are generalizing it. We have understood the concept of water. Now we are generalizing it. How we are generalizing it? Let us say we have a pure liquid. You have to take a pure liquid, and what we are trying to do, we are trying to measure its vapor pressure. We have a pure liquid sample. Now we will. So first of all, what do we need to do before moving forward? First of all, we are studying solution and colligative property. Many students have studied, they have confused Here we are at a point that we generally confuse ourselves and we attempt the question in a wrong way. So there is a time, there is an opportunity to correct that concept today. Okay, we don't have to confuse. Okay, don't confuse it with colligative property. Vapor pressure is not a colligative property. Please keep it in mind. Vapor pressure is not a colligative property. I have written over here. Vapor pressure is not a colligative property, because any colligative property that depends on the number of solute particle. Read it here. That depends only on the number of solute particle. Any colligative property that depends on the number of solute particles. We are measuring vapor pressure. Vapor pressure does not depend on the number of solute particles. First of all, there is no case of solute and solvent. There is only solvent. There is pure liquid. So we are measuring vapor pressure, and to measure the vapor pressure, it does not depend on the number of solute particle. So it is not a colligative property. Vapor pressure is not a colligative property. Okay. Now you have studied Clausius-Clapeyron equation. This is Clausius-Clapeyron equation as we are watching it. At two different temperature we have two different equilibrium constants, isn't it? At temperature T1 we have K1, and at temperature T2 we have K2. These are the equilibrium constant. Okay, we are writing them here. At temperature T1 we have equilibrium constant K1. So how do we write them? Using the enthalpy, that is enthalpy, standard enthalpy H0 is given. Standard enthalpy change, logarithm K2 by K1 equal to delta H0 upon 2.303 R. R is obviously gas constant. Here the value of R must be 8.314 joule per Kelvin per mole. Okay, don't take 0.0821, because that's unit is, if you take R equal to 0.0821, that's unit is liter atmospheric per Kelvin per mole. But here we are measuring delta H0. So measuring delta H0, that will be given in joules. So the R must also be in joules. Okay, so we have to take the value 8.314. In these type of formulae, always take gas constant equal to 8.314 joule per Kelvin per mole. Okay, so now we have taken a pure liquid. At pure liquid, what will happen? The equilibrium constant Kp will be equal to K, and that will be equal to vapor pressure. So instead of K1 and K2, what we can write? Vapor pressure values. Instead of K1 and K2, what we can do? We can directly write vapor pressure values. Everybody understands that? So instead of K1, K2, what we can write? Logarithm P2 by P1. Delta H0 2.303 R1 minus T1 T2. Everybody understands that? 1 upon T1 minus 1 upon T2. This is Clausius-Clapeyron equation. Clausius-Clapeyron equation. Now we will move to, so keep it in mind, K2 upon K1 will be equal to P2 by P1 for a pure liquid, equal to P2 by P1. Keep it in mind. Everybody understands that? Very well. Now we are in relative lowering of vapor pressure, RLVP, relative lowering of vapor pressure. Now we are studying this topic, relative lowering of vapor. First of all, it is a colligative property. It is a colligative property. It means, colligative property means which depends on the number of solute particle. Which depends on number of solute particle. And how the physical significance of relative lowering in vapor pressure comes? It comes when non-volatile solute is added. Non-volatile solute means, for example, sodium chloride, urea with molar mass 60, glucose molar mass 180, and we dissolve any of them in water. So let us say what we have done, we are using NaCl into a sample of pure water. So, and now we are boiling it. Now what will happen? The entire water will evaporate and NaCl will deposit at the bottom of the container. If we evaporate it, if we raise the temperature, it will, which clearly proves that it is a non-volatile solute, isn't it? How do we identify? Simply heat the sample. What will happen? The solute particle will deposit at the bottom of the container and whole of the liquid will evaporate. It means it is a non-volatile solute. Now what we are doing? When we add the non-volatile solute to a sample of pure solvent, the vapor pressure of the solution, now it becomes the solution, isn't it? It becomes the solution. It decreases. Why? Because if there is a container and there are solute particles, these solute particles now are at the surface, and let us say these are the solvent particles. These are obviously onto the surface and into the body of the liquid. First of all, initially there were only solvent particles. Now we have added solute. They will occupy some surface, or you can say they will occupy the surface area, and now less surface area is occupied by the solvent particles. It means initially what was happening, these solvent particles were evaporating whole of the surface area, means whole evaporation, more the surface area, more the evaporation. But now, because here do we have solute particles, these solute particles will occupy the surface area, and once they occupy the surface area, less surface area is available for the solvent particles, and hence less evaporation. So less evaporation means the vapor pressure of the sample decreases. Everybody understands that? So obviously the vapor pressure of the solution now will be less than vapor pressure of the solvent. Everybody understands that? Now we have already understood this surface area decreases for the solvent, evaporation decreases, and hence vapor pressure of the solution decreases. Vapor pressure of the solution decreases. Now let us say the vapor pressure of the solution is PS. PS means vapor pressure of the solution, and vapor pressure of pure solvent is P0. Okay. So how much pressure is lowered? Initial pressure minus final pressure. That is because the vapor pressure of the solvent was more than the vapor pressure of solution. So P0 minus PS. It is P0 minus PS is delta P. Delta P is lowering. And how do we use the word relative? Relative means delta P upon the higher value.